Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus Smackdown for January 8th, 2021. It was a show that shows that SmackDown, at least, is willing to sacrifice the present for a possibility of a future, and they are willing to sacrifice alleged pay per view main events in order to keep things frosty. I find both of these things very interesting. I'm not saying it's going to work. I am saying it's a choice being made out of some semblance of strength, which right now in the WWE is as close as you can get. Raw is a show that is booked entirely out of weakness. All the decisions are hot shots, all the decisions are made sacrificing all logic. SmackDown, at least, feels like a show where there is a plan in place. Let's start to take a look. We're going to have a gauntlet match to determine Reigns' Royal Rumble opponent. That's how we open the show. So again, we have the problem of using the first half of the show to promote the second half of the show. But until they start to get ahead a little bit and have some currency built up, they're never going to be able to build for the future. So they have to go through this process, right? Reigns, however, cuts a stellar promo. And again, if they're going to knock Reigns off at WrestleMania, one shudders to think, because if it was to be Big E, or if it was to be Daniel Bryan, God help us all, we would not have a challenger set up for them, setting up whoever the next face champion is to be doomed, a la Sting finally winning the title, and all they had for him was the Black Scorpion. Could you imagine what the WWE would conceive that could be worse than the Black Scorpion? The answer, of course, is of course you can. Of course you can. I'm looking forward to one day there being a wrestler of notable size that they put a mask on and they dub the Retribution. And what a great time that will be. And of course, his finisher would be assault on the Capitol, at which point Vince McMahon would go, I don't know why people are so offended. Reigns cuts his promo. He's pointing in the direction of Adam Pearce, which again, at least there's a kind of a logic to this, where Reigns is sort of admonishing Adam Pearce for trying to screw him over. Yeah. Fans boo. Reigns demands that Pearce get out there. Heyman yells at the ring announcer to get Pearce out there. And Pearce does come out there, asks what he can do for him. They show clips, right? We see how a series of things where people are talking Adam Pearce into making matches and that kind of thing. And now Reigns is accusing Pearce of not making the right decision for the well-being of his friend. On and on and on and on and on. Pearce defends himself saying, I'm just trying to put the best challengers in front of you. Again, it's a nice interplay here. Reigns has, in his skewed vision, a legitimate right in his own mind to be upset. Pearce gets to hang back on the logical thing of, it's my job to make challenges for you, that kind of thing. Reigns starts sort of yoking Pearce up. Pearce is claiming again, he does respect Reigns. Heyman finally talks Reigns down a little bit. And man, it's a very intense way to open the show. Again, I would love for the WWE to get away from this thing of using the first segment to set up the end of the show. But at least if you're going to do it, as I always say, you can do anything as long as you do it well. Then they promote the fact that Apollo Crews is going to get his shot at the Intercontinental title against Big E, and we go to commercial. So they have gotten away from this trope of having somebody walk backstage, which again, I think is a positive move. And I'm sure has nothing to do with me railing on it week after week after week. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. Now we get our Intercontinental title match, Apollo Crews against Big E. How is the match? It's very good, as you would expect two guys who seem to have a vested interest in making each other look good. A bunch of big bumps happen here, which I think is the right move for Big E. It's hard to get sympathy on a large sort of babyface champion, but they do it right with Apollo Crews, because Apollo Crews is throwing him around here. But Big E manages to catch him and gives him his finisher and pins. No roll up here. And for any WWE product, this is a positive step forward. Have Big E defeat people with a big ending, for crying out loud. Throughout the course of the match, a story I like that they told was Big E feeling mildly betrayed by being challenged by Crews. And they definitely make sure that story kind of comes to the forefront without it being a thing where Big E or Crews comes across as too heelish. Again, it's sloppy writing that they're wrestling each other in the first place, but again, they're just holding serve here, right? They have to give Reigns a contender that has no chance of winning, yet is interesting enough for people to want to tune in. And so they have the same problem with Big E. They need to have him defeat people up until whatever he's going to do at WrestleMania. And at the same time, you don't want to put flies on anybody of note. And I think Apollo Crews, we can all agree, is somebody that can take the loss, and nobody gives a flying fuck. Now we got Adam Pearce on the phone with somebody backstage, and he feels like he's trapped. And now Sonya Deville walks in to make sure she does yet another entrance of little note. Pearce is talking to her for a while. They talk about Mandy Rose. I try not to put the gun in my mouth at this point. And at the end of it, Adam Pearce welcomes her back. Wow, a great use of airtime. And I'm sure their sponsor is thrilled that this is the segue going into commercial. They promote the fact that the Gauntlet match main event is soon to come. And then they go to commercial. Okay, I'm happy they're not just having somebody walk backstage. Don't get me fucking wrong. Here's the problem. We've now pushed this Gauntlet main event again and again and again. And the reason they're having to do that is because they created this thing out of thin air tonight. And more importantly, they've really got nothing else going on. Why is that going to be a huge problem? We're about to find out. They come back from commercial. They're talking to Bianca Belair, who explains that even though the bitch keeps losing, this is her push, her great moment, in case you missed that memo. And now we're going to see Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler and how they recently attacked the Street Profits, and now we're going to get a tag team title match. Now with this piss poor buildup, and the fact that they have not talked about this tag team title match the entire fucking show, or promoted it throughout the week, surely Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode are not going to win the titles. Surely the Street Profits, who they named Tag Team of the Year for the WWE and all of that happy horseshit, are not going to lose on this match with little build, correct? You know nothing. Yes, after a long match that goes through at least one commercial break, motherfucking Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode win the tag titles clean as a preacher's sheets with no build-up. Huh. And as Dawkins is checking on Ford after their loss, Ziggler and Roode beat the shit out of him and knocked them out of the ring. The end of segment. Now, we know that I'm not the biggest fan of the Street Profits. We know that I think that the thing that they did with the Viking Raiders was as bad a memory as almost my father dying. But for God's sakes, the open disdain to minority-faced champions. I'm telling you, in 2021, this shit is not going to go unnoticed for long. But then again, perhaps McMahon is upset by the events of the Capitol and his good friend, Donald Trump. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are backstage talking strategy. So that's going to be part of Sonya Deville's new edict, is she's going to help out Boy, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to Adam Pearce because he's wrestling, cannot serve as the general manager, and so Sonya Deville will take over. I can hear the excitement and all of the erectile dysfunction happening nationwide. Paul Heyman walks in. The long and short of it is um, Heyman says Roman Reigns had Heyman pull some strings, and Pearce is now in tonight's gauntlet match. Pearce does not look thrilled. Pearce says, I haven't wrestled in 6 or 7 years, and I won't be wrestling matches anytime soon. Okay, at least this is a build of a sort where Pearce is denying that this will happen and that it shouldn't happen, which at least builds up the anticipation that when it does happen, it's something notable. I will give it to that. I'm a big fan of Adam Pearce. I have not hidden the fact that I've booked that guy many, many times for really no other purpose at a certain point other than I just liked having Adam Pearce around, and I thought it was good for the boys to talk to him. Really smart guy, doing really a stellar job right now, and I am scared for him in this main event. I look down at my notes here and see that. We see how Billy Kay's antics led to a win for the Riot Squad last week. The women talk back and forth. Crying happens, of course. This is the embarrassing part, right? Liv begins to speak up, and Billy takes that as wanting her in the group. She says she could be punk like them, and even added mosh pit to her resume. She's happy and she walks away. The Riot Squad is annoyed. And Gloria Steinem weeps quietly in the corner, slouching towards Bethlehem to be born. Now we have our number one contenders gauntlet match. Here are the people involved. Rey Mysterio, who I'm not so sure anybody would want to see that against Roman Reigns. Sami Zayn, who's just here because he has nothing else to do, I suppose. King Baron Corbin, because we had to make this as uninteresting as possible. Daniel Bryan and Shinsuke Nakamura. Oh boy. And Adam Pearce. Who's going to win? I mean, it can only be one of two people, right? It's either Daniel Bryan or Adam Pearce. And we get the decision that we're going to protect Daniel Bryan because at the end, drum roll, Adam Pearce wins. Adam Pearce wins. Adam Pearce wins. Basically, the finish of this thing is Adam Pearce is there with Nakamura. Adam Pearce nobly avoided all conflict. And at the end, Uso beats Nakamura down. And at the end of the day, he gets super kicked from Uso, and Pearce goes down and lands on top of Nakamura, and so he gets the win. And so your number one contender at the Royal Rumble is Adam Pearce taking on Roman Reigns. Schmozzy, fucked up, but at the end of the day, maybe the best that they could do in this situation, which tells you more about the state of wrestling than anything I could. This has been Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus Smackdown.